Why most people stay small. Most people never come close to their true potential, not because they are lazy, cursed, or born without talent, but because they aim far too small. They set goals that are only slightly above what they have already achieved. A person earning $500 a month wants to reach 700. Someone with a small business doing 10 customers a week only dreams of getting 15. A content creator with 100 views on a video wants to reach 150. On the surface, this looks sensible and realistic, but this approach is exactly what keeps them stuck in an ordinary life. When your goals are just a little bigger than your current reality, they do not demand a new version of you. They do not push you to discover new skills, new strategies, or new levels of courage. Instead, they allow you to stay comfortable while pretending that you are growing. Grant Cardone, in his 10X rule, explains that ordinary goals can only create ordinary lives. The people who dominate in business, sports, creative fields, or personal development are almost never the ones who think modestly. They are the ones who think 10 times bigger. They do not aim to improve their income by 10%. They aim to multiply it by 10. They do not hope for a few comments on their content. They aim for thousands of real followers and millions of views. This kind of thinking may sound crazy or unrealistic to the average person, but that is exactly the point. If your goals are so small that they never scare you, they will never be big enough to truly change you. Small goals keep you safe. 10x goals force you to grow. The biggest reason you are not where you want to be is not lack of opportunity, but lack of scale in your thinking. What the 10x rule really means. At its core, the 10x rule is a simple, powerful formula that can completely transform the way you approach success. Grant Cardone defines it in two parts. First, whatever goal you think you want, multiply it by 10. Second, whatever level of effort you believe is required to reach that goal, multiply that effort by 10 as well. Most people misunderstand success from both sides. They underestimate how big their goals can be, and they underestimate how much work real success actually requires. So they set small, realistic goals and then put in average, comfortable levels of effort. For example, imagine someone who says, "I want to make an extra $1,000 this month." That sounds reasonable. They might work a few extra hours, try a side hustle, or post a couple of extra pieces of content. When they do not see quick results, they feel discouraged and eventually give up. The problem is not that $1,000 is an impossible target. The problem is that it is too small to inspire massive action. It does not force them to rethink their strategy, learn new skills, or take serious risks. Now imagine applying the 10x rule instead. Instead of aiming for $1,000, they aim for $10,000. Immediately, that number shocks the brain. It is no longer something you can hope to achieve by working a bit harder. You are forced to ask different questions. How can I serve 10 times more people? How can I create 10 times more value? What kind of product, offer, or skill could possibly generate that amount? Suddenly, you're not thinking about small, incremental changes. You're thinking about bold moves, game-changing ideas, partnerships, systems, and new levels of discipline. The 10x Go forces creativity and innovation. And in chasing that much bigger target, you will inevitably become a much bigger person, even if you do not fully hit the exact number. That's the secret. The 10x rule is not only about the goal itself, it's about who you must become in order to pursue it seriously. The 4 degrees of action. One of Grant Cardone's most useful ideas in the 10x rule is his breakdown of human behavior into 4 degrees of action. These 4 levels explain why some people stay stuck for years, why others get average results, and why a very small group explodes towards success. The first degree of action is doing nothing. This is more common than people admit. These are the dreamers who talk about what they want to do someday, but never take the first real step. They say, "I'll start next week. I'm still researching," or "I'm waiting for the right time." In reality, they are trapped by fear, laziness, self-doubt, or all three. Doing nothing feels safe because you avoid failure and embarrassment, but it is actually the most expensive choice you can make because it silently wastes your most valuable asset, time. The second degree of action is retreat. These are the people who once tried, faced some pain or failure, and then ran in the opposite direction. Maybe they tried a business that did not work, a YouTube channel that got no views, or a fitness plan they quit after 2 weeks. Instead of learning, adjusting, and trying again, they retreat into excuses like, "It's not for me," or "The market is too hard now." Retreat may look like self-protection, but it slowly destroys your confidence and potential. The third degree is taking normal action. This is where most of the world lives. They show up to work, put in some effort, and get average results. They're not totally failing, but they're not truly winning either. It's a comfortable middle where life is fine, but never truly exciting. The problem is that normal action cannot create extraordinary results. The world rewards massive effort, not minimum compliance. Finally, the fourth degree is taking massive action. This is the 10x zone. People here do not wait for perfect timing. They move fast, take big steps, and refuse to quit when things get difficult. They make more calls, create more content, meet more people, learn more skills, and solve more problems than anyone else. Because they flood the world with effort, they also create far more opportunities and breakthroughs. Massive action is not reckless. It is focused, intense, and consistent action on a much larger scale than average people are willing to take.
Mindset, thinking beyond limits. The 10x rule is not only about what you do, it begins with how you think. Grant Cardone argues that the biggest limitation in your life is not your background, your education, your connections, or even your resources. It is your mindset, specifically the habit of small thinking. Most people do not fail because they are incapable. They fail because they underestimate what is actually possible for them. If you look at every major breakthrough in history, you will notice a pattern. Someone refused to accept the common belief about what was realistic. The Wright brothers did not ask, "Is human flight really possible?" They asked, "How can we make it possible?" Elon Musk did not simply say, "Let's build another car company." He said, "Let's build an electric car that accelerates faster than a sports car, can drive itself, and can be updated by software." That is 10x thinking. It is the choice to think far beyond traditional limits and to refuse the safety of small, comfortable goals. Average goals do not excite the human spirit. If your dreams do not make your heart beat faster, they will never push you to wake up earlier, stay up later, and do the difficult work required for real change. The tricky part is that your brain is wired for safety, not greatness. The moment you consider a 10x goal, your mind throws doubts at you. "That's impossible. That's too much. Who do you think you are? What will people say?" But those doubts are not proof that the goal is wrong. They are proof that the goal is big enough to challenge your identity. Grant says that if your dreams do not scare you a little, they are not dreams. They are just extended to-do lists. To build a 10x mindset, you must train yourself to stop asking, "What is probable?" and start asking, "What is possible?" You must look at people who have achieved massive success, and instead of thinking they are special, ask, "If they did it, why not me?" Success rarely belongs to a chosen few. It belongs to those who choose to think and act bigger than the crowd, again and again. Obsession versus balance. One of the most controversial ideas in the 10x rule is Grant Cardone's attack on the popular concept of balance. Society constantly promotes balance as the ultimate life ideal. keep everything smooth, never push too hard, is not become too obsessed. People say, don't overwork yourself, success is not everything, or you need more balance. On the surface, this sounds wise, but Cardone argues that balance, as most people use the term, is a comfortable excuse for low ambition and weak effort. If you study the people who have changed industries, built great companies, become world-class athletes, or created legendary art, you will not find perfectly balanced lives. Steve Jobs was not balanced while he was building Apple into a technology giant. Serena Williams did not win Grand Slams by practicing just enough to keep things comfortable. The people we admire for extraordinary results were usually deeply focused, intensely committed, and yes, to some degree, obsessed with their mission. Obsession is usually described as unhealthy, but what is more unhealthy in the long run? Being obsessed with growth and a meaningful mission, or living a life of quiet frustration, waking up every day knowing you could do more but choosing comfort instead? Grant says that success demands your full attention. It does not respond to part-time focus or half-hearted effort. You cannot give 50% of your energy to your goals and expect 100% outcomes. Many people hide behind the word balance because they are afraid of failure, criticism, or the temporary discomfort that comes with pushing yourself. But in the 10X mindset, obsession does not mean burning yourself out. It means burning so brightly with clarity and purpose that excuses cannot survive around you. It means caring so deeply about your vision that you are willing to say no to distractions, entertainment, and short-term pleasure to build something truly significant. Ironically, the people chasing balance often end up more stressed because they are constantly juggling things without fully winning at any of them. The people who commit deeply, who go all in on a meaningful path, often experience more momentum, progress, and ultimately more satisfaction.
Fear, criticism, and failure as signals of growth. Another central truth in the 10X rule is how you relate to fear, criticism, and failure. Most people see these three as signs that something is wrong, that they should slow down, lower their goals, or return to safety. Grant Cardone completely flips this belief. He says that fear, rejection, and failure are not signs you are on the wrong path. They are signs that you are finally doing something big enough to matter. Fear appears every time you step beyond your comfort zone. It is your mind's way of trying to protect you from risk. But under the 10X mindset, fear is not a stop signal, it is a compass. The things that scare you most, starting the project you keep delaying, posting the video you're nervous about, making the sales call you keep avoiding, approaching the person you admire, these are usually the things that can move your life to the next level. The goal is not to become fearless. The goal is to become the kind of person who moves forward even when fear is loud. The same is true of criticism. When you begin to take massive action, people will notice, and not everyone will be supportive. Some will question your motives, laugh at your goals, or call you unrealistic, arrogant, or crazy. But ask yourself, when was the last time you saw anyone criticize the person who does nothing, who never takes a risk, who never tries anything bold? They are ignored, not attacked. Criticism is usually a sign that you are visible, that your actions are making waves in a world used to average behavior. Instead of shrinking, use it as proof that you are playing bigger than before. As for failure, 10X thinkers understand that it is not a dead end, it is feedback. Every failed attempt contains information about what does not work, so you can adjust your approach and move closer to what does. The people who win big are not the ones who never fall. They are the ones who refuse to stay down. They stand up faster, learn quicker, and keep taking massive action despite setbacks. Once you stop treating fear, criticism, and failure as enemies and start seeing them as evidence of growth, you become extremely difficult to stop. Turning 10X from concept into daily lifestyle. Understanding the 10X rule intellectually is easy. The real challenge is turning it into a daily lifestyle. Most people get motivated when they hear about massive action, but within a few days they slip back into their old patterns. To truly live the 10x rule, you must redesign your life around it. That starts with your goals. Instead of writing goals that sound nice or socially acceptable, you write goals that stretch you so far that your current habits cannot possibly achieve them. Take any area: income, business growth, health, social media, learning, and multiply your target by 10. Then ask the most important question: what kind of person would I need to become to make that goal normal? This question shifts your focus from what you have to who you are. Then your schedule must reflect those goals. 10x living means planning aggressively and executing relentlessly. Your calendar is no longer empty space. It is a battlefield where you deliberately place blocks of massive action: deep work sessions, content creation, sales calls, skill practice, networking, and learning. You remove low-value activities: endless scrolling, pointless arguments, random entertainment, and unplanned distractions. You start waking up earlier, not because it is fashionable, but because your vision demands more hours of focused effort. You stop waiting for motivation. Instead, you let action create motivation. The more you act, the more momentum you feel, and the less resistance you experience. Another key part of turning 10x into lifestyle is commitment. You treat your goals like obligations, not wishes. Grant Cardone says you must view success as your duty, responsibility, and obligation, not just an option. This mental shift is powerful because we always show up more seriously for duties than for casual desires. You do not feel like paying your bills. You pay them because they are non-negotiable. When you see your goals the same way, you act even when you are tired, bored, or discouraged. That is what separates a 10x lifestyle from temporary motivation.
One of the biggest reasons people give up on big goals is that they stare at results too soon and see almost nothing. They go to the gym for 2 weeks and see no major change in the mirror. They post content for a month and get only a handful of views. They send a few emails or messages and hear mostly silence. From a 10x perspective, this behavior is understandable but completely wrong. Grant Cardone teaches that in the early stages, you should track effort far more aggressively than you track results. Results are delayed. Effort is immediate. When you adopt a 10x goal, you must also adopt 10x metrics: number of calls, proposals, pieces of content, repetition of a skill, hours of deep work, new people contacted, and so on. You can keep a 10x journal or planner and write down each day how much massive action you actually took. For example, instead of "I want more clients," you track "I made 50 outreach attempts today." Instead of "I want a bigger audience," you track "I posted 3 high-quality pieces of content today." This does 2 powerful things. First, it keeps you honest. You can no longer lie to yourself that things aren't working if you are only taking tiny amounts of action. The numbers reveal the truth. Second, it encourages you, because you will see that progress is happening in your behavior long before it appears in your bank account, body, or statistics. Over time, you will notice a direct relationship. When your action count goes up, your wins begin to appear more frequently. You also learn what type of effort produces the best outcomes, so you can improve your strategy without lowering your ambition. This is the opposite of how most people think. They set a small goal, take small action, see small results, feel disappointed, and then shrink their dreams. A 10x thinker increases action instead of reducing targets. If the result is not there yet, you assume you need to do far more, far faster, and far better. This attitude keeps you moving forward long enough for the compound effect to kick in.
Radical responsibility. Owning everything. A major pillar of the 10x rule is radical responsibility. Grant Cardone repeats a tough but empowering idea: act as if everything in your life is your fault. At first, this sounds unfair. How can everything be your fault when there are economic crises, toxic people, family problems, random bad luck, and unfair systems? But the 10X mindset is not about legal or moral blame, it is about power. When you blame circumstances, you lose power. When you take responsibility, you gain control. If you decide that your income, health, relationships, and skills are all your responsibility, you stop waiting for rescue. Victims wait. Leaders act. A person who says, "The market is bad, the algorithm is against me, people don't support me," is giving all authority to external forces. They are saying, "I am weak, the world is strong." A 10X thinker says, "The market is tough, but I will outwork it. The algorithm is unpredictable, but I will produce so much value and volume that it cannot ignore me. People around me are negative, so I will find or create a new environment." This mindset does not deny reality, it simply refuses to be controlled by it. When you adopt radical responsibility, excuses lose their power. Lack of time, you created your schedule. Lack of skill, you chose not to train. Lack of money, you chose not to pursue bigger opportunities earlier, or you failed to manage what you had. These thoughts may feel heavy, but they also contain hope. If you contributed to the problem, you can contribute to the solution. You move from asking, "Why is this happening to me?" to "What can I do about it?" That small shift in language is the gateway to 10X action. You are no longer a passenger in your life, you are the driver. You do not control every event, but you control your effort, your decisions, and your persistence. And over time, those three things shape your reality more than luck ever will.
Protecting your environment and inner circle. You cannot live a 10X life surrounded by 1X thinking. The people you spend time with, listen to, and interact with shape your standards more than you realize. If your environment is filled with complainers, pessimists, or people who hate ambition, their energy will slowly infect your own thinking. You may start your journey with big dreams, but constant exposure to small minds will cause you to doubt yourself, lower your targets, and eventually settle. That is why Grant Cardone emphasizes the importance of protecting your environment. This does not mean you must instantly cut off everyone who is not as ambitious as you, but it does mean you must be extremely selective about whose opinions you value and whose habits you mirror. A 10X thinker deliberately builds a circle of people who push them higher. Mentors, high-achieving peers, disciplined friends, and creators who are already living at a level you respect. You consume content from people who inspire massive action instead of people who encourage excuses. You choose events, communities, and online spaces that normalize high performance. When you talk about big goals, you look for those who respond with, "How can we make it happen?" not "Be realistic." Over time, your inner circle becomes a kind of invisible force, constantly raising your expectations. You will notice that being around driven people makes you feel uncomfortable if you are not performing at your best. That discomfort is healthy. It pushes you to level up. On the other hand, you may need to create boundaries with people who constantly drain your energy, those who mock your ambition, demand your time for trivial things, or pull you into gossip and negativity. You do not have to hate them, but you do have to protect your mission. Your environment includes not only people, but also information, what you watch, read, listen to, and follow. If your feeds are full of distractions, scandals, and meaningless noise, your mind will not easily focus on 10X goals. If your daily input is books, talks, and lessons from high performers, your thinking will naturally expand. Protecting your environment is not a luxury, it is a requirement for sustaining 10X behavior over the long term. Applying 10X to business and money. The 10X rule becomes especially powerful when you apply it to business and money. Most entrepreneurs and professionals set financial goals that are only slightly better than last year.
10% more revenue, a small promotion, a minor raise. They then design strategies that fit those tiny targets, a few extra sales calls, a slightly better marketing campaign, a small improvement in service. The result is predictable: small growth, constant struggle, and intense competition. When you aim for only a little more, you are fighting for the same customers, attention, and opportunities as everyone else. But when you apply 10x thinking, you stop asking, how can I grow 10%, and start asking, how can I grow 10 times? That question instantly changes your strategy. To multiply your income by 10, you cannot simply work a bit harder at the same level. You must reconsider the entire game. What higher value problems can I solve? What premium services or products can I create? How can I reach 10 times more people through leverage, automation, platforms, partnerships, or systems? How can I turn one-to-one effort into one-to-many impact? For an employee, 10x thinking might mean developing rare skills, taking on visible projects, and becoming so valuable that promotions and offers naturally come your way. For a business owner, it might mean building a scalable model that does not depend entirely on your personal time. In both cases, 10x demands more courage, raising prices when you deliver real value, asking for bigger opportunities, contacting higher-level clients, entering larger markets, and being willing to be seen and judged. It also demands far more action, more outreach, more follow-ups, more offers, more testing, and more learning. The average person spends their financial life reacting to bills and expenses. A 10x thinker proactively creates income streams, searches for growth, and builds assets. In a noisy world, money flows to those who provide massive value and refuse to stay invisible. When you flood the marketplace with effort, quality, and presence, you eventually become hard to ignore.
Applying 10x to personal growth and learning. The 10x rule is not only for money and business, it can completely transform your personal growth and learning as well. Most people aim to improve a little each year, read a few books, learn a small skill, maybe watch some educational videos. But if you decide to 10x your growth, you approach learning with a completely different intensity. Instead of reading one book every few months, you might aim for 20 or 30 books a year in your field. Instead of casually watching random tutorials, you follow a structured learning plan and practice deliberately every single day. If you want to become a great communicator, you do not give one presentation every 6 months. You practice speaking daily, record yourself, get feedback, and study the best speakers in the world. If you want to master a language, you do not learn one word a day. You immerse yourself, listening, reading, speaking, and writing for hours weekly. The 10x mindset in learning is about volume plus focus. You expose yourself to far more high-quality information than average people, and you apply it aggressively. You do not just collect knowledge, you experiment with it in real life. You also choose skills strategically. A 10x learner asks, what skills, if mastered, would multiply my value the most? Then they go deep on those. Sales, persuasion, writing, coding, design, leadership, problem-solving, whatever matters most to their path. Another aspect is mentorship. Instead of struggling alone for years, a 10x thinker actively seeks people who already have the results they want and learns directly from them, whether through coaching, courses, books, or even free content. This compresses time. What might take you 10 years alone could take 2 years with focused guidance. Over time, this aggressive learning approach changes your identity. You stop seeing yourself as not good at X and start seeing yourself as someone who can rapidly acquire any skill they commit to. That confidence transfers to every new challenge, making future growth even faster. In a world where most people stop learning after school, a person who lives the 10x rule in personal growth becomes almost unstoppable.
Applying 10x to health and fitness. Health and fitness are areas where the 10x rule can create dramatic change, yet most people think the smallest here. They say things like, I just want to lose a few kilos, or I just want to be a little fitter. With such weak goals, their actions stay weak too. 1 or 2 workouts a week, random diets, and constant restarts. The 10x approach flips this. Instead of a little fitter, you might say, I want to be in the best shape of my life, or I want energy, strength, and stamina that 90% of people my age don't have. Suddenly, the scale of your ambition changes the scale of your behavior. You stop thinking in terms of quick fixes and start thinking in terms of lifestyle design. A 10x health goal forces you to look at your entire routine: sleep, nutrition, movement, stress, and habits. You don't go to the gym sometimes, you train consistently with a clear plan. You don't just eat less junk, you build a nutrition strategy aligned with your goals: more protein, better whole foods, less processed garbage. You might track your workouts, your steps, even your water intake. You begin to treat your body like a high-performance machine instead of a trash can. The 10x rule in fitness is not about killing yourself with extreme, unsafe workouts. It is about consistency and intention at a much higher level than average. While most people sit for hours every day, you deliberately build movement into your life. While they use tiredness as an excuse to skip training, you use training to reduce tiredness and increase energy. Over time, this 10x attitude toward health affects everything else. Clearer thinking, better confidence, stronger discipline, and more emotional stability. You realize that your body is not separate from your success. It is the foundation that carries your ambition. Many people fail in business or personal goals simply because their energy is too low. When you live the 10x rule in your health, your body becomes an ally, not an obstacle, to your biggest dreams.
10x in relationships and social life. At first glance, the 10x rule might seem focused only on money and career, but it also has deep implications for your relationships and social life. Most people approach relationships passively. They accept whoever happens to be around, invest minimum effort in deep connection, and then wonder why their relationships feel shallow, negative, or unstable. A 10x approach to relationships starts with a clear question. What kind of people do I want in my life, and what kind of person must I become to attract and keep them? Instead of hoping for a loyal partner, inspiring friends, or powerful mentors, you intentionally build yourself into someone worthy of such people. You work on your communication, honesty, integrity, reliability, and emotional control. You also apply 10x standards. You will not tolerate constant drama, disloyalty, or small-minded negativity just because you are afraid of being alone. You would rather build slowly with the right people than stay stuck with the wrong ones. In friendships, 10x thinking means choosing to surround yourself with those who challenge you, support your growth, and share your hunger for improvement. It means reaching out more, giving more, and being present more deeply instead of just reacting to messages and notifications. In family relationships, it may mean becoming the one who steps up, taking more responsibility, communicating more clearly, and breaking old patterns of blame or silence. In networking, the 10x rule pushes you to connect at a higher level, attend events, message people you admire, offer value before asking for favors, and consistently follow up. Instead of waiting for the right people to magically appear, you become massively proactive about finding and nurturing high-quality connections. Over time, this 10x investment in people creates a powerful support system. You are no longer climbing alone. You are part of a tribe that pulls each other higher. And remember, relationships also require massive action. Love, respect, and trust are not built by occasional gestures. They are the result of consistent, intentional behavior over time. Time management in a 10x world.
If there is one resource you cannot multiply, it is time. Everyone gets the same 24 hours in a day. The difference between average and 10x performers is not more hours, it is more intentional use of those hours. Most people spend their time reacting to messages, notifications, other people's plans, and random distractions. Their day is shaped by external forces. A 10x thinker reverses this pattern. They design their day according to their highest goals, then fit everything else around that, not the other way around. Time becomes a tool, not a trap. The first step is clarity, knowing exactly which actions drive the most impact toward your 10x goals. These are your high-value activities: deep work, creation, sales, practice, learning, and strategic planning. A 10x schedule places these at the core of your day, usually when your energy is highest. You block them out like appointments with your future. During these blocks, you guard your focus fiercely. Phone on silent, no social media, minimal interruptions. You treat your work like a surgeon treats an operation, serious, precise, and distraction-free. Lower value tasks, email, admin, small chores, are batched and done quickly at specific times instead of scattered all day. You also say no far more often. Every invitation, request, or opportunity is measured against your 10x priorities. If it does not move you closer or support your long-term vision, you either decline it or heavily limit it. This can be uncomfortable at first, especially if you are used to pleasing others, but you soon realize that saying yes to everything is secretly saying no to your own potential. Rest is also managed intentionally. 10x does not mean working non-stop until you collapse. It means working with intensity and then recovering properly so you can repeat that intensity daily. Sleep, breaks, and fun are not escapes. They are part of your performance system. In a 10x life, time is not something that happens to you. It is something you command with clarity, discipline, and purpose.
Common misunderstandings about the 10x rule. Because the 10x rule is so intense, many people misunderstand it and reject it too quickly. One common misunderstanding is thinking that 10x means being reckless, taking wild, uncalculated risks and working without any rest or strategy. In reality, 10x is not about chaos. It is about controlled, focused, and multiplied effort. It asks you to think bigger and act more, but always with purpose. Another misunderstanding is believing that the 10x rule is only for entrepreneurs or salespeople. Although Grant Cardone comes from a sales and business background, the principles apply to students, employees, creators, athletes, and even parents. Any area of life where goals and effort exist can be transformed by multiplying both. Some people also think 10x means ignoring family, health, or spirituality and obsessing only over money. This is a narrow reading. The essence of 10x is intensity and responsibility, not greed. You can 10x your presence with your family, your commitment to your health, your depth in your faith, or your service to your community. It simply means you treat those areas with greater seriousness and higher standards instead of casual attention. Another objection is, what if I set a 10x goal and don't hit it? Won't I be disappointed? The answer is that even if you fail at a 10x goal, you will usually end up far ahead of where a normal goal would have taken you. A person who aims to multiply their income by 10 and ends up doubling it still wins more than the person who only aimed to increase by 10% and barely moved. Also, the real reward of 10x is who you become, the discipline, courage, creativity, and resilience you develop, far more than the exact number you hit. Finally, some people fear that if everyone went 10x, competition would become impossible. But the truth is, very few are willing to sustain massive action. Most will still choose comfort.
That is why the 10x rule remains a huge advantage for those rare individuals who dare to live it. Real-world examples of 10x thinking. To understand the 10x rule more clearly, it helps to look at real-world examples, big and small. Consider social media creators who explode in a short time. Often, people say they were lucky or the algorithm favored them, but if you examine their behavior, you usually find 10x action. While most creators post once a week or less, they might be posting daily or even multiple times a day, experimenting with formats, studying analytics, engaging with their audience, and constantly improving content quality. Over a year, they produce more trial and error, gain more feedback, and learn more about what works than the average person does in 5 years. That volume plus learning equals 10x impact. In business, think of companies like Amazon. Instead of trying to be just another bookstore, Jeff Bezos aimed to become the everything store, delivering almost anything to anyone online. That is 10x vision. Or look at Tesla, which did not aim to make a slightly better gasoline car, but to transform the entire car industry with electric vehicles, software updates, and autopilot features. These are large-scale examples, but 10x also appears in ordinary lives. A student who decides not just to pass exams, but to deeply master the subject will study more material, ask more questions, seek extra resources, and solve far more practice problems than classmates. As a result, they not only score higher, but also build a stronger mind. A salesperson who chooses to 10x their activity might go from making 5 calls a day to 50. At first, this feels intense, but within months, their skills improve rapidly, their closing rate increases, and their income often jumps. Even a person learning a new craft, design, coding, or music, who practices 3 hours a day instead of 15 minutes, will naturally reach a much higher level faster. None of this is magic. It is simply the predictable outcome of far more focused action directed at bigger goals.
The emotional side of going 10x. While the 10x rule focuses heavily on action and results, there is also a deep emotional journey that comes with living at this level. When you first set 10x goals, you may feel excited, but soon fear, doubt, and overwhelm often appear. Your old identity, the version of you who played small, will resist this new direction. Thoughts like, "Who am I to do this?" or "What if I fail publicly?" or "What will my friends think?" will start to surface. This is normal. In fact, it is a sign that you are stretching beyond your past limitations. A 10x life requires emotional courage, willingness to feel discomfort without running away. You will feel tired at times. You will question your path when results are slow. Some people around you might misunderstand your intensity and say you have changed. All of this is part of the price of growth. The key is to build emotional resilience. You do this by reminding yourself why you started, revisiting your goals daily, and celebrating small wins along the way. You also learn to separate feelings from actions. You may not feel confident, but you still make the call. You may feel afraid, but you still launch the project. Confidence in the 10x mindset is not a starting point. It is a result of repeated courageous action. Another emotional challenge is boredom. Massive action often includes repetition, doing the same important tasks again and again. Many people quit not because it is too hard, but because it feels too repetitive. A 10x thinker understands that mastery is built in the boring phases, the 100th video, the 500th call, the 1000th practice repetition. Emotionally, you train yourself to love progress more than variety. Finally, there is joy in 10x living. When you start seeing your potential unfold, when you realize you were capable of far more than you believed, there is a deep satisfaction that no comfort zone can offer. It is the feeling of fully using your life instead of just passing time.
Building your personal 10x roadmap. Knowing the 10x rule is useless unless you turn it into a clear personal roadmap. To build your own 10x plan, you start with a brutally honest assessment of where you are right now. In each key area, income, career or business, health, relationships, skills, influence, write your current level in simple numbers or clear statements. Then, beside each one, write a 10x version. If you earn $1,000 a month, write $10,000. If you have 1,000 followers, write 10,000. If you work out once a week, write 10 intense sessions or a full training routine that represents a serious upgrade. This is not about perfection, it is about setting a new standard. Next, pick 1 or 2 core areas to start with. Trying to 10x everything at the same time can dilute your focus. Choose the areas that, if transformed, would make the biggest positive impact on your life. For each chosen area, list the key actions that truly move the needle. For income, it might be outreach, offers, learning sales, or building a new skill. For fitness, it might be strength training, daily steps, and nutrition tracking. Then, multiply your planned action by 10. If you thought, I'll contact 5 prospects a day, turn it into 50. If you planned 2 workouts a week, plan 5 or 6 sessions with structure. After that, schedule these actions into your calendar. Do not leave them as vague intentions. Assign time blocks, when, where, and how long. Add tracking, a simple notebook or digital sheet where you mark daily what you did. Every week, review. What did I actually do? What worked? What didn't? What can I improve without lowering the goal? Adjust your methods, not your ambition. This becomes your 10x operating system. Big targets, massive daily actions, consistent tracking, and regular review. Over time, this roadmap stops feeling overwhelming and starts feeling normal. You are no longer living by chance, you are living by design. Sustaining 10x over the long term. Starting 10x is exciting. Sustaining it over months and years is where greatness is forged. At the beginning, motivation is high. You're inspired by the idea of massive success and rapid growth. But life will test your commitment. There will be weeks where everything seems to go wrong. Deals fall through. Content underperforms. You feel tired or get sick. Family responsibilities increase. This is where most people quit or lower their goals. A true 10x performer expects these storms in advance and prepares for them. First, you build systems, not just willpower. Systems are routines and structures that make action easier even when motivation is low. Set work hours, pre-planned workouts, prepared meals, automated reminders, accountability partners, and fixed deadlines. Second, you lower the friction, not the standard. On tough days, instead of abandoning your actions completely, you reduce their size but keep the habit alive. Maybe you planned 3 hours of deep work but can only manage 1. You still show up. Maybe you planned a hard workout but feel weak. You still move your body somehow. This keeps your identity as a 10x actor intact. Third, you regularly reconnect with your why. Write down why these 10x goals matter to you: freedom, family, impact, self-respect, legacy, or all of these. Read this daily, especially when you feel like quitting. Fourth, you protect recovery. 10x is not a sprint you run once. It is a long marathon of intense effort and smart rest. Schedule breaks, days off, and activities that recharge you mentally and physically. Just make sure these breaks are intentional, not escape mechanisms. Lastly, you accept that your 10x level today will become your normal later. What feels extreme now, waking up early, doing focused work, training hard, publishing consistently, will one day feel like the obvious way to live. At that point, you can raise the bar again. Sustaining 10x is about evolving gently but relentlessly, never allowing yourself to slide back into a life ordered by fear, laziness, or small thinking.
When 10x feels impossible. There will be moments on your 10x journey when everything in you screams, "This is impossible." You will look at your current reality, the bills, the responsibilities, the lack of support, your past failures, and your 10x goals might look ridiculous. In those moments, it is crucial to understand that impossible is often just a label your mind uses when it cannot yet see the path. You are judging your future using the limitations of your present identity. The 10x rule invites you to do the opposite. Define a bigger future, then grow into the person who can reach it. When 10x feels impossible, break it into stages. Maybe you cannot imagine going from $1,000 to $10,000 a month instantly, but can you imagine reaching $3,000? From there, can you see a path to $6,000? Step by step, as your capacity increases, the larger goal becomes more believable. Another powerful tactic is to study people who have already done what you want to do, especially those who started from difficult situations. Their stories prove that your current challenges are not final. If they overcame poverty, discrimination, lack of education, or severe setbacks, your excuses begin to lose power. You can also adjust your timeline without lowering your target. Perhaps multiplying your results by 10 takes 3 years instead of 1. That does not make the dream less worthy. It simply makes it more realistic in terms of process, not in terms of scale. And remember, 10x does not always mean a mathematical exact 10 times increase in every case. It means thinking and acting at a level far beyond normal. Even if you reach 5x or 7x, your life will be radically different from what small goals would have created. When you hit walls, rather than saying, "It can't be done," ask, "What haven't I tried yet? Who hasn't helped me yet? What skill haven't I built yet? What am I still avoiding out of fear?" These questions open doors where your old mindset saw solid walls. Integrating 10x with your values. Some people quietly fear that if they truly embrace the 10x rule, they will have to become someone they do not like. Cold, money-obsessed, selfish, or disconnected from their values. This fear is understandable, especially if their image of high achievers comes from arrogant or unethical examples. But the 10x rule itself is neutral. It is a tool. What you build with it depends on your values. If you value family, you can 10x your presence, your support, and the stability you provide through financial strength. If you value service, you can 10x the number of people you help, the quality of solutions you offer, or the level of impact your work has on society. If you value integrity, you can 10x your honesty, reliability, and courage to stand by what is right, even when it is costly. The point is not to abandon your values, it is to magnify them through greater capacity and influence. Small, struggling versions of ourselves often feel forced to compromise because we are always in survival mode. The more you grow, the more options you have to live according to what truly matters. However, you must define your values clearly. Ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to become as I succeed? And what principles am I never willing to break, no matter how tempting the shortcut? Write these down. Revisit them as often as you revisit your goals. 10x without values can create successful but empty lives. 10x combined with values can create powerful, meaningful, and deeply satisfying lives. When your ambition and your conscience are on the same team, your drive becomes almost unstoppable. You are no longer chasing success to prove something. You are pursuing it to express your best self and to serve at a higher level. That is the deepest version of the 10x rule.
Not just more money, more fame, or more numbers, but more of the right things, more growth, more contribution, more character, and more life fully lived.
The final 10x challenge. Now everything comes back to you. You have seen how the 10x rule challenges small goals, normal action, and average thinking. You have learned about the 4 degrees of action, the power of massive effort, the need for radical responsibility, and the importance of protecting your environment. You understand that fear, criticism, and failure are not signs to stop, but signs that you are on the path of growth. You have glimpsed how 10x can transform business, money, health, relationships, learning, and time. But none of this will matter if it stays as theory. So here is your final 10x challenge. Pick one area of your life, just one, for the next 90 days. Do not overcomplicate it. Maybe it's your income, your fitness, your content creation, your studies, or your skill development. Write your current level in that area. Then write a 10x target for it. It should feel bold enough to scare you a little, but exciting enough to pull you forward. Next, list at least 5 high-impact actions that could move you toward that 10x target. Then, multiply the scale of those actions. If you plan to post once a week, plan for daily posts. If you plan to study 1 hour a day, plan for 3. If you plan to contact 10 prospects a week, plan for 50. Schedule these actions in detail for the next 7 days. Don't wait for the perfect Monday, next month, or after things calm down. Life rarely calms down on its own. Start now, even if now is messy. For the next 90 days, track your effort more than your results. Each day, mark what you actually did. At the end of each week, review and adjust, never lowering your target, only improving your approach. Expect fear and doubt. Welcome them as signs that you are leaving the small thinking zone. At the end of those 90 days, compare the person you have become with the one who is reading these words right now. You may be shocked by how much can change when you stop living at 1x and demand 10x from yourself.